Hello there, thrill seekers. Today's Friday flashback comes from April 28th, 2009 at Casa del Popolo in Montreal in Quebec in the country of Canada. And Casa del Popolo, this is the second time I spoke there. I don't have a recording of the first time. But when I spoke there the first time, they made a poster for the show, for the talk, and that poster, the artwork for that poster, became the cover of my book, Sit Down and Shut Up. Anyway, it was done by a guy who goes by the name of Johnny Crap, and it was commissioned by whoever organized it. I think it's Thibault Duchesne organized the event, and that was a cool poster. Anyway, the question I'm getting from the audience here is about whether meditation makes a person happier. And I thought that's an interesting question, and you can hear my answer to that. And then another little bonus question about whether or not I am enlightened. And apologies at the outset, I have been trying on this YouTube channel to kind of make all of my language G-rated, or at least PG-rated. But back in the days when I recorded this, I was talking in R-rated language, so I hope nobody is, passing out on their fainting couch from listening to me use a few naughty words. So here we go. Let's look at me in Casa del Popolo in April of 2009, talking about whether meditation makes you happier.
Having a meditation practice for a long time generally makes somebody happier or just more conscious of how unhappy they are?
Both, actually. I think I can only speak for myself. I think it's made me a lot happier, honestly, because I was a pretty depressed person, and I was depressed because I was thinking a lot. And you can always, if you're kind of that bent to be a depressive person, you can always think of things that will make you more depressed. And the ability to stop thinking of things that made me depressed has made me extremely happy. One of the things it'll do, though, when you first start the practice is it does indeed make you more conscious of how fucked up you are. And this can be a very difficult stage of the practice, and it's where a lot of people quit. It's where I quit a number of times. I talk about having practiced Zazen for like 20, I don't even know, it's probably more like 27 years now than 25. But it was not a steady thing. I gave up a lot, especially in the beginning, in the first few years, I would just give up. Because I'd become aware of how difficult it was, and because I wasn't getting this enlightenment that I read about in books. The reason I would come back to it is because whenever I stopped doing the practice, I felt like shit. And I would be like, why do I feel like shit all the time? What's different now from what was going on last week? And I kind of rifle through my brain and go, oh, I stopped doing that Zazen thing. And then when I started doing the Zazen, it didn't fix everything. It didn't give me instant happiness, didn't give me instant enlightenment, but it made the normal sort of ups and downs and bumps of life a lot easier. So I always went back to it. So, the answer is it does both. It can make you more aware of how unhappy you are. Nowadays, when I'm unhappy, I'm also aware sort of intuitively of what's behind that, although that doesn't fix it necessarily. But the awareness of it kind of helps through it. It doesn't necessarily mean you're suddenly happy because you realize the reason for your unhappiness, but it does make it something. It's not mysterious, and you don't tend to want to own it as much. It's like unhappiness is a passing thing that's going on. Here's unhappiness. Okay, rather than going, oh God, I'm unhappy. What am I going to do to be happy? I've got to look for something to make me happy. Maybe if I buy a bunch of shit, it'll make me happy. That doesn't tend to go on quite as much, although it happens.
So, do you have enlightenment and how it feels?
Yeah, I keep it in a box. Do I have enlightenment? It's okay. It's very difficult to answer that question because let me try to answer it this way. People have this idea of enlightenment as there is some kind of a state that a person achieves, this kind of all-at-once situation where, bang, everything is fixed forever, and the person becomes totally cool, and lights can shine out of his eyes or whatever. I don't know exactly what the image is of it. And I say this being a person who had a kind of image of it when I first started. That's what I wanted. I wanted to get enlightenment, whatever the hell it was. And I find a lot of the pop culture Buddhism emphasizes this idea of enlightenment because they know it's like a commodity that can be sold. People want it, and they say, "Oh, we got enlightenment," and the guy comes out and says, "I have enlightenment. Would you like to have enlightenment?" And I don't want to be one of those guys. If you practice Zazen long enough, and we're talking decades here, so I don't want to give anybody false impressions. A certain sense of balance happens, and a certain insights develop, and you start to see the world in a different way from what you saw it before, and the way you start to see the world seems to be more true. But at the same time, there is another sense that you never lose yourself, which means you never lose your capacity to be an asshole. There's the way Buddha's life story has come down to us in recent years. Has a scene which is very much like Christ's temptation in the desert, in which Buddha is sitting doing his final meditation before he becomes enlightenment, and Mara, who is the closest equivalent in Buddhist cosmology to Satan, comes up to him and offers him riches and hot babes and all kinds of stuff to stop meditating. And he refuses, and he touches the ground as his symbol of grounding, being grounded in reality. And sometimes if next time you see a Buddhist statue, take a look at it, and a lot of them have I think it's usually his left hand touching the ground. That is the way it's come down to us. And then in the version that's become popular in the past, 1,000 years or so, that happens once and never happens again. Mara goes away. In the earlier, when you start to dig around and look at the earlier versions of that story, Mara pops up again and again and again throughout Buddha's life. And that doesn't mean he was visited by Satan, for the rest of his life. But it means that he faced challenges to his practice and to his understanding. And he still had the ability to choose. To say, okay, let's have some fun, So there isn't this state that just fixes everything. It's always a matter of working on it and working at it. The only thing that you might get that is anything close to fixing everything is you become profoundly aware of the fact that everything you do has repercussions and reactions, karma, for want of a better word, that you can't really get away with anything, and this is an amazing, revelation, and one that, to be honest, for me was something. There have been times when I'd be like, I wish I didn't know that, But that's the reality of the situation. So as far as do I have enlightenment, I've had some experiences in my practice, and I have read books in which those experiences are described as enlightenment experiences. I don't think they're enlightenment experiences. I think they're just a sort of a deepening of practice, and it doesn't provide me with like an answer that I can just kind of pull out and go, the answer is, jump up and down on your left foot. So that's my best answer to that one.